Let's go to the issue of housing. We know it's tight. If you're looking for rents, rents are up. Vacancy rates, of course, are low. Mortgage repayments, I don't need to tell you this, they have doubled. Meanwhile, Labor's planning to bring in record amounts of migrants who all need somewhere to live. And the best the PM can come up with is his $10 billion, you're paying for it, Housing Future Fund that passed the Parliament with the support of the Greens earlier today. Joining me now to get the details on all of this, business commentator at the Herald Sun, the wonderful Terry McCrann. Terry, welcome. We'll get into the nuts and bolts of this policy, but $10 billion, we're only going to get 30,000 homes out of it. A chief economist at the AMP, Shane Oliver, says, well, we need 220,000 new homes, so we're 190,000 short. If we did the whole hog, it'd be trillions of dollars for taxpayers. But I got to say, when I started back in government in the late 90s, government-funded homes for low-income people, that was it. Why on earth is this the job of government? Explain that for me.
Well, I can't explain it to you, Pete. I think an infallible rule of thumb, which is very important in analysing this, is if the Greens are in favour of something, the consequences will be somewhere between disastrous and catastrophic. What we have in this situation is the federal government building fantasy on fantasy. It's talking about a target of 1.2 million homes over the next 5 years. That's 240,000 a year. And on top of that, it's added this 30,000. It's like a pimple on an elephant. It's only another 6,000 homes per year. But none of this is achievable. No matter how much money the government theoretically puts aside, you've got two fundamental problems. One is you don't have the resources, the labour and the materials to actually build these homes. Everything governments have been doing is making it more difficult to get planning permission, to get processes actually such that you can actually build houses. And as you say, Peter, this massive inflow of migrants means that even that target, which is not going to be met, wouldn't even scratch the surface in terms of what we need in terms of new housing.
Yeah, you're right to point out, the taxpayers here, this is not the government, the taxpayers are putting the money on the table, the $10 billion, and the things that the government can control, which don't cost the taxpayers, like how many migrants we let in, and all the red tape at local government, state government and federal government level, those two things which they can fix, they're not fixing. I mean, this to me is a very expensive bit of posturing. At the same time, and you know this particularly in Victoria, but we're seeing it also in Brisbane, that they're whacking landlords with all of these regulations, so much so that they're dumping rental properties. Everyone's getting out of it and putting whatever money they've got into the share market. They don't want to own a home because Labor's going to tell them how much rent you can charge and who can live there and how many dogs they can have. That's all allowed now.
On every level, Peter, they're discouraging the building of houses in general and also particularly the building of rental properties. So we have this massive train wreck. For people wanting to buy a house, you've got escalating prices. We had a very short-lived temporary pause in price rise. We're back to higher prices. For people that are looking to rent, you're driving investors out of the market at both the federal level and the state level, as you've articulated, and you're making it very difficult to actually add to the new stock. So on every level, and then you add the industrial relations policies that Tony Burke has tried to introduce, which will make it even more expensive to get labour and to actually get the things done. Across the board, it's as if they are deliberately trying to make it harder and more expensive to either own a house or to rent a house.
Terry, just quickly, we're almost out of time, but the Westpac report says we've got the worst consumer confidence since the Keating recession. We're already in a per capita recession. How tough are things out there?
Well, it's clearly very tough, Peter. I mean, you've got not only rising interest rates, as you've indicated, but now back to rising petrol prices, higher inflation across the board. It is very tough. And this is something, again, which the government needs to address. And what is it focused on? Everything else but cost of living.
Yeah, it's shocking. Terry McCrann, great as always. Thank you for your time.